Anthony Richardson, the ex-starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, being dealt an unfair hand? Should the Colts have given Richardson the fair chance to develop for 1 or 2 years rather than naming him the starting quarterback immediately? Now, if you've been watching Richardson from college at the University of Florida and so on and so forth, you can clearly see he wasn't ready to be the starting quarterback for an NFL team just yet. And me personally, I'm not a fan of letting a top draft pick sit back and learn how to play football on the next level, which is the NFL. However, if I see and I'm the coach that player isn't capable or demonstrating the qualities of being a starting quarterback in practice, preseason, somewhere, I wouldn't help him lose his confidence by putting him in the game and telling him he's the starting quarterback. That's one way you definitely can destroy a young man's, a kid's, a young adult confidence, throwing them in a situation and they're clearly not ready. And if it was me, I wouldn't have thrown him in the fire so fast. I would have gave him a little time until he showed me that he's confident and he can be that quarterback that is capable of leading his team. Until then, you don't really see the field like that because it's not going to do any good. Yes, he is big, he is fast, he is strong as an ox. He can throw the ball 70 to 80 yards, probably maybe 90 in the air. But that's just half the battle to be a starting quarterback in the National Football League. You have to have a high IQ. You have to be able to handle pressure, make certain reads in a blink of an eye, in a split second. You know what I mean? There's so many things you got to be accounted for or accountable for as a starting quarterback in the National Football League. And it seems if we all can see that Anthony Richardson isn't or wasn't or isn't quite ready. Now, the coach done created this whole weird and confusing situation with the team about Richardson being benched because players didn't understand. They found out through social media. And one player say he found out through social media, which was Michael Pittsburgh Jr. Is wild. A starting receiver found out about Richardson being benched through social media. This is a starting quarterback for a national football team. That is a wild situation. And the expectations of a future NFL quarterback or NFL player all starts with the scouting department. And they are usually some inexperienced individuals that barely play football who follows a system to evaluate talent. And that's what probably happened with Anthony Richardson. He's big, he's tall, he has a husky frame, he has a very, very strong arm, and he fell into the system and became the number 4 pick in the NFL draft because of the system I just told you about, the scouting department. And this is a true story about the scouting department. Since college, I was always a lockdown cornerback, a ball hawk, whatever you want to call it. I finished college with 8 interceptions, school record 38 passes deflected, passes defended, pass breakups, whatever you want to call it. But I wasn't really on the NFL scouts radar. Maybe because I was at University of Central Florida, UCF. It was a smaller school back then than it is now. We big time now, baby. You understand? And there were two main sources the NFL used to figure out which players to scout or which players to potential draft. If you on these lists, you probably going to 9 times out of 10, probably 9.5 times out of 10 end up going to the combine, which is where most of the people get drafted. You go to the combine, you probably have a 90% chance of getting drafted. The list was called a national scouting list and a regional scouting list. And I think I was barely on either of them. So that meant if I'm not on the list, I'm not going to the combine. If I'm not going to the combine, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be an undrafted free agent. Now, when the scouts came to visit a school, they usually came in the morning. So I would give our film guy the instructions to hit me up when the scouts pulled up so I can come over and, chop it up with them to see what's going on. So I would meet with the football scouts in the facilities when they stopped by to watch film on NFL talent we had at the school. And I would meet up with them. Obviously I got to leave school. I'm not really in school, whatever you want to call it. But It's probably in the morning time. It's usually in the morning time, 11, 10, 11, 12, whatever. And I meet him in there. And basically, everyone would tell me about my 40 time, which they had me down for like a high 4.6, low 4.7, 40-yard dash. So that meant I was a very slow guy, and you can't be slow at cornerback in the eyes of the scouts. You know what I mean? So everybody assumed I was just slow, which I really used to be slow. I did really used to be slow, which is that's a whole other story. And I would tell the scouts this was how I would convince them that I can be a football player in the National Football League. I would tell the scouts to watch the film of UCF, my school, and Virginia Tech. They had a they had a player named Andre Davis on their team at receiver back then. He also ran track, which he was the 60-meter indoor champion, 60-meter dash indoor champion, super fast. And when they watched the film that I told them to watch, I would point them to a play of Andre Davis taking me on a deep route, a go route. And when he would take me on this go route, when he took me on this go route, I would stride for stride, broke it up, broke the pass up. And that simply opened up the eyes of the scouts because this is the indoor 60-meter champ. If I'm running stride for him, ain't no way in the world I can be slow. That's how I end up getting drafted and put on the list. So that was just a little context for y'all so y'all can understand how players are being scouted. So you can understand when you see a player that like a Bo Nix or Anthony Richardson who ain't quite working out so fast or may not be on the level you think they may be. This is what's going on. But like I said, if you watch Anthony Richardson in college, you could tell he wasn't ready to lead an NFL team and be the number one pick. Um, because the number 4 pick in the NFL usually are ready to start day one. They are usually considered the franchise quarterback or the franchise player on the team. And unless you you planned on drafting him and making him run more than he passed the football in an offense, I can't see what the expectations could have been because it makes no sense if you're watching him in college. Just because he's the prototype and shows a great upside doesn't mean he is ready.